Hello, this is Megan.
And this is Mark.
Welcome to our 11th video of the Stars in Conjunction at Disneyland.
And we'll also talk about the area that needs to be modified to make room for Star Wars Land, such as the rerouting of the Disneyland Railroad, Rivers of America, and Big Thunder Trail.
Today's July 1st, 2017.
To start it off, if we look directly behind the Battle Escape, we can see that an air handler has been brought in. This air handler will be used to circulate air as part of the HVAC system. HVAC is short for heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. Air handlers are usually connected to the ductwork ventilating systems that distribute the conditioned air through the building and then returns it to the air handler. Since this is a very large building, this is one of many air handlers that will be installed on the rooftop. Now it's being lowered into position. Now if we look at the side of the building, we can see that sheeting rails have been added. The sheeting rails provide lateral support to the wall panels once the wall panels are installed. Here at the Millennium Falcon Show building, concrete has been added between the two layers of forms for the third cylindrical structure. Now if we look at the top of the Millennium Falcon Show building, we can see that a beam structure is being made. This beam structure is going to be one of many for Rockspire framework. Next, if we slide to the right, we can see that dirt is being brought in behind the Battle Escape. Now looking to the right a little bit more, we can see that a truck is transporting in ducts for the HVAC system. Next, we'll go down to the street level. Here's a good view of the steel joists that have been installed at the top of the Battle Escape stocking bay. The main function of a joist is to provide direct support for decking. And these joists will help distribute the weight load on the deck that will eventually be located above and put less stress on the structural frame such as beams and columns. Here we can see that a cage is lowering ductwork to the basement of the show building. Next, we'll look at some examples of ductwork that has already been installed. As mentioned before, the ductwork is connected to the air handlers to distribute the air to each room or area of the building. Also, some of these could be used as return ducts, a way for air to be removed from the building. Now if we slide to the left, we have a view of the concrete that has been added between the two layers of forms for the cylindrical structures. Scattered throughout Disneyland, posters can be found promoting the return of the Disneyland Railroad, Rivers of America, and Fantasmic. We'll go ahead and look at some examples. Here's all the posters grouped together. And as you can see, Fantasmic will return on July 17th, 2017 in celebration of Disneyland's 62nd birthday. The Disneyland Railroad, the Mark Twain Riverboat, Columbia, and Davy Crockett Canoes will return on July 29th. Now if we look to the left, we can see that the screen that was covering the train bridge has been removed. We'll go on Splash Mountain next to see the bridge from above. Wood decking has been added to the sides of the railroad tracks since we saw it last. Next, we'll go on Sawyer Island. To the right of the Indian village, workers are pumping in mulch near the side of the river. If you look closely, you can see the mulch making its way through the hose. Mulch is spread or laid over the surface of soil as a covering. It is basically used to retain moisture in the soil and also used to suppress weeds. Now if we look below these rock structures, workers are adding aquatic plants to the river. Notice that this worker is removing rocks from the water, while another worker behind him sets down a plant. The plant is ready to be added. The soil is broken up. Now the worker puts it in place. Plants are buoyant and have the tendency to float, so packing rocks around the plant's roots will keep the plants in place. Now looking at the nest on top of the rock structures, an eagle has been brought in. Here's the beaver having its way with the wood trestles. Over here, workers are putting in piping for an irrigation system. This worker is adding solvent cement to the pipes, so the ends of the pipes adhere to each other. Now if we look closely behind a tree, 2 Indians have been brought in, and they're being stored until they're ready to be put into place.
Today's July 7th, 2017.
The concrete forms have been removed from the 3rd cylindrical structure, and it looks like they're in the process of removing the forms from the 4th cylindrical structure as well. Now if we look to the right a little bit, we can see on the side of the battle escape, zigzagged siding. This helps link the horizontal sheeting rails together, giving them additional support. Here workers are installing some of the zigzagged metal to the sheeting rails. Now if we look to the right a little more, formwork is being added to the top of the side building. Next, we'll focus our attention at the top of the Millennium Falcon Show building. The beam structure at the top of the building is increasing in size. Here, our worker is tightening one of the beams in place. On this side of the Millennium Falcon Show building, workers are installing some more beams.
Today's July 13th, 2017.
We're in Critter Country, and the Indian chief has been uncovered. Peeking through the fence, we can see Indian scouts at the edge of the river. These are the same Indians that we saw last week behind a tree. Now we're on Sawyer Island, and we'll go ahead and peek through a crack of Fort Wilderness. And inside the fort, there's a sign, Phantasmic Welcome Home. Here's a view of one of the newly created waterfalls that has been turned on. It's well planned out, it really looks great. Off to the left a little bit, a fawn has been brought in. Alright, here on the other side of the island, cast members are canoe training getting familiar with the new river route. Behind them on the rock structures, workers are in the process of removing the excess beams that are extending out of the rockwork. The worker on the right is using a cutting torch to cut off the beam. These beams were used to attach the rock forms in position, and they were also used to hold the scaffolding boards in place. Since they don't need them anymore, they are being removed. The Indian has been uncovered, and the animatronics has been turned on. It is great to see them in operation again. Here at the Millennium Falcon Show Building, decking is being added to the top level. Also at the top level, workers are putting welded wire mesh in place. As mentioned before, wire mesh is used to reinforce concrete, which gives the concrete structural strength. This helps minimize cracking in the concrete. Now if we focus our attention to the beam structure at the top of the show building, we can see that a beam is being lowered. Next, workers are putting the beam into place. Now if we slide to the right, looking at the Battle Escape Side building, workers are adding horizontal beams to the formwork, which will be used to create a flooring for the top level.
Today's July 15th, 2017.
And here we are at the D23 Expo. One thing that Disney is showcasing at the Expo are Star Wars Land updates. We'll go in and see what we can find. At the Star Wars Land exhibit, there are models, droids, and props showcasing what Star Wars Land will be like. We'll go ahead and look at some examples. This model is what they call a resistance turret. It's a temporary defense encampment for the resistance. And here's a familiar face. Captain Rex will be in Star Wars Land. And here's the Millennium Falcon. As we already know, it'll play a major role in Star Wars Land. Now this model is a land speeder. And this was the highlight of the convention for us. Disney unveiled a beautiful model of Star Wars Land. The model is about 45 feet long, and it's a half-inch scale model, which means that every half inch of the model represents 1 foot in real life. An Imagineer told us a little bit of where we're at. We're at the edge of wild space. This has always been a jumping out point for travelers, explorers, smugglers, and bounty hunters. The planet is a little bit off the grid. It's at the edge of the galaxy. Now I'll zoom in and we'll look at portions of the model. This portion is near the Critter Country tunnel entrance. Notice that there's an X-wing, an A-wing, a resistant turret, and among other things. At this part of the model is the ancient forest, as the Imagineers put it. The resistance is in the ruins of an ancient civilization. In the middle of this picture is where the Battle Escape attraction will be, underneath the rock structures. And at this point, we don't know if that's going to be the official name for the attraction, but time will tell. This model is very detailed. It even shows the tunnel entrances. And this tunnel is the closest one to Fantasyland. This one is closest to Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. At the back end of the model is where the Millennium Falcon attraction will be. And as you can see, the Millennium Falcon will be docked in front of the attraction. Also on display was a First Order Stormtrooper armor, an A-wing, some musical instruments, and a First Order officer's uniform. And this one really caught our attention. It's a First Order fleet transport piloted by an astromech droid. This transport will be the ride vehicle for the Battle Escape attraction. Also at this expo, Disney gave a big announcement. They revealed the official name for Star Wars Land. It'll be called Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Today's July 20th, 2017.
We're located in Critter Country, and the fence that used to block the construction of Rivers of America has been removed. It really opened up the area. I really like the cast members only sign made of oars. It really complements the theming. It is a nice added touch. And over on the other side of the fence, this portion of the path is getting close to being completed as well. Next, we'll go on Sawyer Island. This is what the Indian Village looked like last time we were here. Now I'll dissolve the picture to what it looks like today. The fence blocking the Indian Village has been removed. Now we have a great view of the Indian Village and its tribe. If we look to the left of the Indian Village, a worker is adjusting the animatronics of the eagle. Here the worker is adjusting the head movement of the eagle. Next he's adjusting the wingspan. The waterfall that flows over the Phantasmic storage is now on. Next we'll go to the street level and look at the Millennium Falcon Show building. Near the center of the picture, a worker is putting a beam into place. This type of beam is for cross bracing. Notice that the worker is using a podger. A podger is a tool to bring bolt holes into alignment from beam to beam. Now he's attaching the beams with bolts and nuts. Next we'll look at the side building of the Battle Escape. The concrete has cured between the two layers of forms. The construction workers are in the process of removing one of the forms. You can see residual powder being released as the form is being detached. Now the form is being lifted. Over here in the Battle Escape location, a telehandler is lifting a sidewall framing for the First Order docking bay. The telehandler is now lifting another beam in position. On the side of the battle escape, workers are continuing to add the zigzagged metal around the sheeting rails. Now if we look back at the side building, rebar is being added to the top of the formwork. Now if we look over at the Millennium Falcon Shell building, we can see that another structure is being made for rock work.
Today's July 29th, 2017.
And today is a very special day. It is the day that the Mark Twain Riverboat, Sailing Ship Columbia, canoes, and the Disneyland Railroad reopens to the public. And here comes the Mark Twain. We're here first thing in the morning and we'll be on the first voyage open to guests. You can tell that a lot of people are just as excited as we are.
Let's give us a round of applause for our grand opening. Thank you for joining us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the first and final boarding call for the Grand Steamer Mark Twain. So,
Alright, we'll show some highlights of the trip.
As we head into the remote areas of the rivers of America, you're in for a real treat. I've been navigating these parts for years now, but I never get tired of taking in the breathtaking beauty of the Columbia River. Off to the side of the river is an Indian chief, and I do believe he's giving us a sign of peace. That means we're all clear as we head up the Missouri River to the home of the Plains Indians.
The waterfalls and the fallen trees are really amazing. They are so lifelike. It's hard to believe that they started out as metal tubes and wire. That is truly amazing. There's the keel boat, the Gollywomper, owned by Mike Fink, the king of the river. The chimney of the cabin has smoke coming out. That is a nice touch. I love the cliff-like structure at the cap of the island. Here's a nice view of the trestle bridge. The waterfall to hide the passageway to the Phantasmic storage is off. So we have a great view of the passageway.
Off the port side of the riverboat is a wise old shaman, sharing a story for all of us to hear. Just beyond the shaman is a tribe of Plains Indians, setting up their camp along the banks of the river. They'll be here for a few months and then move on. As we continue our journey, keep a close eye on the riverbanks. There's a good chance we might catch a glimpse of moose, mountain lions, and other wildlife.
Next we'll see the river from a different perspective, on the canoes. Now this is what I've really been looking forward to, riding the Disneyland Railroad in new territory. And here we go. This is what it looked like back in August 2016. Notice the tree to the left of the mine train tunnel. This tree actually still exists today. And I'll use this tree as a reference point as I dissolve the picture back to what it looks like today. We can see the fallen trees close up. The cap of the island looks great from this perspective. And there's a sailing ship Columbia making its way around rivers of America. And here's the back side of the Indian village. The steel truss bridge has been named Big Thunder Gorge Bridge. It is great to be able to see the detail close up. It looks really good. If you look closely, you can see a trunk with a tag. The tag says shipped to Barnabas T. Bullion. In the backstory of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Barnabas T. Bullion was the founder and president of the Big Thunder Mining Company. And in the Disney Kingdom's comic Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, the look of this character was designed after Tony Baxter. Which is really fitting since he had a lot of influence on the design of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, working as a creative developer of the attraction. And it's cool that basically Tony Baxter has become a Marvel character. Alright, moving along. If you look closely, you can see horned lizards resting on the rock formations. Now we're passing over the tunnel entrance to Star Wars Land, or I should say Galaxy's Edge, the one that's closest to Fantasyland. Here we can see some more wildlife, 2 foxes. One of the foxes is resting inside the log. And here's the tunnel that exits Nature's Wonderland and leads to Toontown Train Depot. We are in Critter Country, and the fence that was blocking the access path in the distance has been removed. Let's go see what we can find. There's another entrance to the Hungry Bear restaurant, leading up the stairs. On top of the stairs, we can see the truss bridge at a different angle. And if we pan to the left, we can see a resident of this area resting on the wood plank wall. We're able to go under the bridge, however there's a fence put up. We'll go ahead and peek through it to see what we can see. Not much to see, except a concrete wall. The path extends to the right to Galaxy's Edge. We'll move on to Big Thunder Trail. The fence blocking the access to the remaining portion of the trail has been removed. Now we have a great view of the shed, or I guess now it's themed as the Postmaster's office. Next we'll go ahead and peek through the fence on the other side of the truss bridge. There's a pile of dirt, and in the distance we can see the framework on the top of the Millennium Falcon show building. However, where the dirt is going to be the location for the village area. Now we're located on the trail leading towards Galaxy's Edge, closest to Fantasyland. The fence has been removed here as well. We'll go check it out. There's a stagecoach off to the side of the trail. And there's a trunk on top. The trunk says shipped to Jason Chandler. This character was developed in the 1970s by Tony Baxter. He was created for the unbuilt Disneyland concept called Discovery Bay and early versions of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. This character was brought to life in the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad comic. Jason Chandler is one of the miners working for the Big Thunder Mining Company. Here is the entrance tunnel to Galaxy's Edge. From here we have a great view of the Battle Escape Show building. Notice that insulated wall panels are starting to be installed. If you look to the right of the picture, you can see an opening on the side of the building. This opening will temporarily be left open so equipment and supplies can be brought into the building. Also from this angle, the platform near the top of the building can be recognized from the model that we observed from the Disney Expo. I'll go ahead and dissolve the picture to the model. Now I'll dissolve the picture back to what it looks like today. On the street level, we can see the back end of the platform extending out. Now if we look at the side of the Battle Escape Show building, we can see that insulation is being added between the metal studs. Well, that's a taste of things to come.
We can't wait to see what they build next.